Hello, my name is Dale Anthony Wilhite. I live at the French Palmer in Mountain Village, Colorado. If you want to find out anything about me, you can go to MySpace where I have a page. This deals with prostitution, something that, was not a subject exactly that I want to be talking about since I've never had any such experience with one. But there's something that I remember back in the 1970s as a teenager that struck me about this profession that some lady on one of these news programs did. And basically she was complaining about the fact that the Johns, all the customers of these prostitutes were at that time getting away with having sex with prostitutes, and the prostitute that was being the one that was actually getting the worst punishment, through incarceration. And of course that has changed some. I think even now if a man's caught trying to pick up a prostitute, in some cases I think if he's in a car, especially if it's his own car or something, he can lose that car. He can be confiscated and sold at a police auction. That's what they ought to be doing with drunk drivers, taking the cars away from them permanently and selling them at a police auction if they're caught intoxicated while driving. But the lady in that case there was right, and she also said something that even though these women are prostitutes, what they do is disgusting. They're still human beings. And I've been thinking about that since I was a teenager. They're right. When I lived in Las Vegas and I worked security, I worked all over the Strip, and you encounter prostitutes. I remember one night where one prostitute would walk out in front of the Klondike. The Klondike is located on the Vegas Strip near where the sign that says "Welcome to Las Vegas" or "Leaving Las Vegas." It's just not far from the MGM and Mandela Bay. Of course, the Klondike has since closed down, and this was in the summer of 1999. Anyhow, I remember her walking along the street there when we would do security outside, and I remember her pimp, maybe 50, 60, sometimes 100 yards behind her. And to make a long story short, we got her out of there because basically she had been held against her will, let's say, and was living in a lot of fear from this guy, or this pimp. But what also concerned me back then is the fact that you hear stories about serial killers going after prostitutes and killing them, like the Green River Killer. I think he may have killed as many as 60 to 80 prostitutes in Seattle. That's kind of terrifying. I mean, you can't commit much of a crime much worse than murder. In particular, it's a damnable crime. It's a very difficult thing to stand before Jesus one day and say, hey, here's why I committed this murder. It's a horrible thing. Of course, I would love for it to be on Judgment Day that all murderers have to face their victims. Just like I'd love to see Adolf Hitler have to face the 6 million Jews that he murdered. I would love to be there to witness that. But anyway, what my concept is here is that as a society, a civilized society, although we're not actually very civilized yet, we should incarcerate prostitutes for a long period of time. This thing here where we just kind of throw them up one night and that's it, it's got to come to a stop. And here's why. We are leaving these prostitutes, when we throw them back out on the street, when we just find them a little bit, back into the hands of their pimps, where they are nothing more than slaves. We're also leading them to be easy prey for serial killers or just for some Night Stalker killer, for someone just wants to kill once or twice. That's why our laws need to change that do something with prostitutes. Not just throw them in jail, but try to get them out of this profession. Get them off the streets and keep them off the streets. Take away the rights of these pimps to exist. And if they don't have any prostitutes, they're out of business. If you take the prostitutes off the street and you go out of your way to make sure they stay off the streets, and it can be done in most cases if you really crack down hard, that also takes away these serial killers the right for them to have an easy prey. I'm not going to say right, but there are demonic inclinations to go after women who are easy prey for them. You see what I'm saying? We're not being civilized at all, and we do treat prostitutes like garbage. There's no other way to put it. We treat them like human garbage. Well, I agree with this woman from the 1970s. The men who lay with prostitutes are no better than the prostitutes themselves. I don't care if they're a lawyer, a doctor, or a politician, or a diplomat. I don't care if he's president of the United States. They're just as bad as they are. But if you're still considered a human being, so are they. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that we need to remove prostitutes from the street. We need to keep them off the street and do whatever it takes. And again, not just want them in jail. We need to look at other alternatives to see what we can do to get them free. But really, the prostitutes that are under the thumb of a pimp, where they are nothing more than slaves to a pimp, are the ones we really need to get off the street, because we can also, if we can take away, remove these prostitutes altogether, we can put the pimps out of business too. And to me, a pimp is nothing more than a slave master anyhow. So I cannot understand how our society continues to just look at prostitution as just it's the only profession in the world, and so what? Well, we're not civilized. You know, we seem to treat animals better than we do our human beings. And we wouldn't take an old stray dog into the society and kill it, just up and kill it. We try to rescue it, at least the animal rights activists do, and other organizations like them. But we leave the prostitutes at the mercy of the serial killers, the Night Stalker killers, and the pimps. And we dare to call ourselves civilized. We're not civilized. We need to get them off the street. And there's one type of person I hate more than others, of course, a serial killer, any type of killer I hate. But the one kind I hate are pimps. I've seen them in Vegas, and they are some of the sleaziest dogs on the face of the earth. And I'd love to put them out of business. And this is one way to do it. It ain't going to be perfect. It ain't going to be foolproof. But we can put a big dent in it. And it's time to put and to make it more difficult for pimps and serial killers to have their way. In other words, it's time to put the pimps out of business. And it's time to make it next to impossible for these sleazy serial killers, demonic serial killers, to find easy prey. That's what I'm trying to say. And leaving the prostitutes out there, looking at it as just a minor crime, a minor thing, it's got to stop. We've got to get these ladies off. Some of them will want to get out of this profession because they're in it because they're being held against their will, basically, in terror from their pimp or some pimp. And we can rescue them. So please, pitch this concept to you, Congressman. Do not accept the status quo anymore. Thank you for your time.